भारत इस समय कोरोना की महामारी से जूझ रहा है और कोरोना की इस महामारी में भारत अपनी पूरी ताकत के साथ तो युद्ध लड़ ही रहा है, लेकिन भारत का साथ दुनिया के तमाम मुल्क दे रहे हैं। खास तौर पर भारत के वो दोस्त जो भारत के साथ हमेशा खड़े रहे हैं कंधे से कंधा मिला के। ऐसा ही एक देश है इजराइल, जो भारत का बहुत अच्छा दोस्त है और मुसीबत के समय में भी इजराइल आगे बढ़कर भारत के साथ सहयोग कर रहा है। हमारे साथ एक खास मेहमान आज जुड़ी हैं TV9 भारतवर्ष में रॉनी यदीदिया, जो डेप्यूटी एम्बेसडर हैं इजराइल की। रॉनी, अ वेरी warm welcome.
Thank you. It's very good to be here.
Ronnie, what I would want to know from you is that as we speak, we know that tonight a big consignment of medical aid and other equipment is going to arrive from Israel. How is this going to further cement the relationship that India and Israel have?
Well, Israel and India have a very long-lasting and very strong and deep relationship. It's a wonderful friendship between our two nations, and this will just further cement that friendship. This is part of a sort of convoy of shipments that is arriving tonight. It's the biggest cargo plane in the world, which is owned by the Indian Air Force, and it's gone to Israel in order to bring here this huge shipment, which will include 1,300 concentrators and 400 respirators and more medical equipment for the Indian people, for hospitals all around India.
And we know, Ronnie, that this is not the first consignment that is coming from Israel. Tonight, there's this big consignment that we're talking about that's coming from Israel, but there was one more consignment that had come before this. And what I'm told is that there'll be more that will be coming from Israel. So Israel is helping India in whichever way possible it can.
Yes, we're coming together to really do as much as we possibly can for India. We had a small consignment coming on a passenger plane earlier this week, and then on Friday night there was another one of these big planes which brought in 3 hospital oxygen generators, which are good for a 120-bed hospital or for several wards in a larger hospital, and more of the oxygen concentrators as are coming in tonight. And then later on this week there will be another shipment which this time is being sent by the Israeli private sector. What's been sent until now is from the government of Israel, and it was put together with a special budget by our foreign minister, who was able to dedicate this $3 million budget for this Indian consignment. And now further on this week there will be some more shipments from Israeli private businesses, from private people in Israel, all put together by the Manufacturers Association and the Chambers of Commerce, which work with India and Israel and Asia and Israel. And so there's a lot going on, and the Israeli people are very eager to show the Indians how much they care.
तो जो रॉनी हमें बता रही है वो ये कि ये पहला कंसाइनमेंट नहीं है, इसके पहले भी कंसाइनमेंट आ चुके हैं और भी आगे आएंगे। इस वक्त इजराइल हाथ से हाथ बांध कर खड़ा है, भारत के साथ सहयोग कर रहा है, कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर खड़ा है ताकि भारत की हर संभव मदद इजराइल की तरफ से की जाए और अलग अलग क्षेत्रों से मदद की जा रही है इजराइल में। रॉनी, व्हेन द फर्स्ट कंसाइनमेंट हैड कम, आवर फॉरेन मिनिस्टर एस जयशंकर हैड सेड दैट इजराइल इज अ ट्रू फ्रेंड. Because a true friend is tested in such times as we are going through at this moment. How long and how further do you see the impact of this coming together of India and Israel is going to affect our relationship further?
So, as Jai Shankar very wisely said, the true friendship is tested in the hour of need. And we've had this between Israel and India for a long time. Last year, at the very beginning of the pandemic, Israel was faced with a situation where we had no medicines, we had no personal protection equipment, because this was all very new to us. And India very generously opened up its export instead of keeping all the personal protection equipment to itself, as it could have, because all the other countries of the world were doing that. But no, India came forward and helped Israel and gave us personal protection equipment that we were able to use over the past year. And now Israel is simply returning the gesture to India. We have been working in the past, and we will continue to work together on water issues, where Israel is working together with India, on agriculture, where we're helping the Indian farmers improve his production, and also in innovation, where the two countries are helping each other to better innovate and to make new and smarter products that can help both of our countries and indeed the entire world. So this friendship will grow stronger, it'll grow deeper as time goes on, as it has been for the past 30 years.
तो जो रॉनी हमें बता रही है वो ये कि ये एक ऐसा कदम है जो इजराइल उठा रहा है। दोस्ती तो है ही भारत और इजराइल के बीच में, लेकिन भारत ने भी इस तरह का सहयोग लगातार इजराइल का किया है, जिसको अब वापस इजराइल का ऐसा मौका है जब इजराइल भारत की मदद कर सकता है, तो वो भी आगे बढ़कर कर रहे हैं। ये दोस्ती है, कई क्षेत्रों में सहयोग भारत और इजराइल का हो रहा है और आगे भी कई क्षेत्रों में होता रहेगा ताकि दोनों देशों को इसका लाभ मिल सके। रॉनी, बट I am also told that not only these equipments and these things that we need right now for our medical facilities to be strengthened are being provided by Israel or are being sent here, but the people of Israel are also with the people of India in this time. I'm told that they chanted Om Namah Shivaya also, so that that positivity can, manifest itself, and people of India should feel that their friends in Israel are with them.
Yes, this was a spontaneous motion by the Israeli people. I heard about it for the first time today, and I think it's just such a wonderful and true feeling of the Israeli people, because Israelis love India. Throughout the years before the pandemic, Israeli tourists were coming here in their thousands, and they really, really love India, and they love to visit here, and they love the Indian people and Indian food, and to wander around your beautiful country. And so when they heard about this crisis, they came together in a very spontaneous manner and did this prayer together. And I think it's just so lovely that they were able to express their love for India in such a beautiful way.
जी हाँ, जाहिर सी बात है, इजराइल के लोग भारत को प्यार करते हैं, भारत के देश को प्यार करते हैं, भारत के लोगों को प्यार करते हैं, और उसी का एक प्रतीकात्मक ये कोशिश थी जो इजराइल के लोगों ने की और एक साथ मिलकर ओम नमः शिवाय का चांट किया। रॉनी, बट आई वुड ऑल्सो वांट टू नो फ्रॉम यू दैट there are so many other fields where Israel can help India in this time of need, especially vaccination, because we also have to undergo, the population of India is immense, and there's this huge vaccination drive that we have to take that is undergoing right now in India. How can Israel help us? Because you were able to vaccinate 60% of your population, rather 80% of your population. So is that also a field where Israel will help India?
Well, we're happy to help. Israel is happy to share in its knowledge. There are discussions going on about whether we can send some of the vaccines which we haven't used to India, but there are legal issues involved in that. But in terms of our knowledge of how to do this quickly and massively in a very good fashion, Israel is happy to share in its knowledge. And I hope that India will avail itself of that knowledge.
Ronnie, how were you able to do it? Because it was a big drive that you undertook there in Israel. And how were you able to achieve this? Because it was done on a war footing in Israel. What can we learn from there?
Well, what's very important is that we had the infrastructure in place already, because every Israeli citizen is a member in an Israeli health fund, one of 4 Israeli health funds, and these are all completely digitized, and they know exactly where every Israeli citizen is, how to contact them. They're all connected by SMS and text messages, and so they were able to invite, first of all, the 60 and ups, and then going down in ages. And another important thing that they did was that they wouldn't let one single dose go to waste. At the end of the day, when all the 60 and over people had been vaccinated in that particular village or town or wherever it was, and there were vaccines left over, they would open it up for the general public to come and get vaccinated right away, just so that they wouldn't have to throw anything away. And they were also able to get to all the people and make sure that everyone knew that when they could get vaccinated, they made appointments for everyone. And so it was a very intensive, very massive effort. Israel was also able to buy enough doses in advance from Pfizer and from Moderna. They made deals with them even before the vaccines were ready. And that's how we were able to get over 70% of the population vaccinated by by this time.
Well, also that since in India we know that we have a huge area, we have a very, very huge population that we have to vaccinate. It's going to be a very big drive because now it's open for people above 18. So this is a huge population that we have to vaccinate. How do we deal with the amount of manpower that we need, the amount of resources that we need? What can we learn? What are the lessons that you think India can pick up from Israel and their drive?
Well, one of the things that we learned is that you don't have to be a doctor or a qualified nurse in order to vaccinate. We were able to have paramedics vaccinate. We were able to have nursing and medical students vaccinate, even people who, hadn't finished their nursing course yet. We brought back people who had already been retired, and they came in order to help with the program, because it's not something that requires 7 years of medical studies in order to stick a jab in someone's arm. Someone with less training can do that. And so we were able to expand the manpower. And we had stations in every single village and town and neighborhood to have people come there so that they wouldn't have to go far from home. In the larger cities, we had these huge vaccination centers in stadiums and in town squares in order to get as many people as possible to come in and be vaccinated and not have to be crowded together as well, because obviously we don't want to be crowded now. But the main thing was really that we didn't leave it just for the nurses and doctors, who are stretched out as it is, and they need to be applauded for the amazing work that they do. But we also had slightly less qualified people, like medical students, like paramedics, also giving the jabs.
So ये एक सीख है जो हम ले सकते हैं इजराइल से, जैसा कि रॉनी का कहना है कि सिर्फ मेडिकल एक्सपर्ट्स ही नहीं, क्योंकि आपको सिर्फ एक जैब देना है, उसके लिए जिनको कम मेडिकल ट्रेनिंग हासिल है, जैसे मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स हो सकते हैं या आर्मी पुलिस पर्सनल हो सकते हैं, वो लोग भी ये दे सकते हैं। और इजराइल ने सभी का इस्तेमाल किया, जो रिटायर्ड हो चुके रिटायर अधिकारी थे या जो मेडिकल स्टाफ था उनका भी इस्तेमाल किया, सभी लोगों का इस्तेमाल किया, ताकि हर जगह सेंटर बनाए जा सके, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पहले लगाए और उसके बाद सबको इस्तेमाल कर लोगों तक वैक्सीनेशन को पहुंचाया। Ronnie, but right now there is one big issue that the government right now is dealing with, that they are trying to convince people. There is a lot of messaging that is out there. We are also, as media, trying to tell people as much as we can that this vaccine is safe and you should take vaccine for yourself, for everybody else around you. So was that also a big impediment for Israel also as a country to convince people to come forward and take vaccination?
Yes. Yes, it was. There were a lot of people who were hesitant. It's a new vaccine and it was developed so quickly. It's understandable that people are afraid, but we put out a very big sort of public information campaign showing people that it is safe, that it is that there's no unreasonable side effects. There are some minor side effects, but the side effects are much better than the disease itself. And there was a very, very big public information campaign on television, on radio, billboards, just about everywhere, in the newspapers, telling people it's safe. Please go out and get vaccinated, because this is so important in order to save lives. It's not only for your own life. It's not only when you get vaccinated, then you're saving your own life. You're also saving the lives of vulnerable people around you who may not be able to be vaccinated for medical reasons, who are too young to be vaccinated, older people who may have been vaccinated, but you don't want them to get the disease at all. And so it's so very, very important for everyone to be vaccinated. And this is the sort of information campaign that Israel had just everywhere in all the possible media.
Ronnie, my last question to you, that we know that Israel is standing with India in this hour of need and helping whichever way possible they can. But what are the kind of discussions that are happening right now between Israel and India? What kind of need does India have where we want Israel to help us? In which specific areas related to Corona or COVID protocols? Where do we need Israel more?
Well, I think it's actually where we have been helping this week, bringing in the oxygen generators and bringing in the concentrators, which are so important because the oxygen concentrators can go into people's homes. they don't have to come into the hospital in order to use them, and so this will relieve a little bit of the pressure on the hospitals. And so I believe that what we're bringing in this week and over the next few days is indeed helping India and meeting India's requests.
Thank you very much, Ronnie Yedidiya, for speaking to TV9 Bharatvarsh. रॉनी हमारे साथ जुड़ी थी, इजराइल की डेप्यूटी एम्बेसडर हैं, जिन्होंने बताया कि इजराइल जो इस समय भारत की सबसे बड़ी ज़रूरत है, ऑक्सीजन कॉन्सेंट्रेटर्स की हो या और तमाम मेडिकल सप्लाई की, उस क्षेत्र में इजराइल भारत की मदद कर रहा है, भारत की मदद करता रहेगा हर संभव क्षेत्र में जहां भारत को ज़रूरत होगी इजराइल जैसे दोस्त की। फिलहाल रुक रहे हैं, कुछ देख लें।
हमने की गलती फिर एक बार, कोरोना ने किया दोबारा प्रहार। मास्क, 2 गज दूरी, करें अपनी सुरक्षा खुद। कोरोना टीका हम सबको लगाना है, मिलकर साथ समझदारी से कोरोना को हराना है।